Man, forget that countdown. Knicks and bruises, we are back. Shout out to the chat. Yo, Black, it's time. I got my guy Eru in the building. Has It's been a minute, so I'm definitely excited to get Eru here with me. Get some takes from him. What's
Yeah, we
good,
haven't
Eru?
seen this last year, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's been
It's been
it's
a
been
whole
since.
year. Been a whole year since I seen you, man.
That's right. Happy New Year, Happy New Knicks. You know what I mean? For sure. How
No
you
doubt.
been?
I've been all right, man. You know me, just always doing something, man. Coming in hot as always, man.
No doubt, no
Yeah.
doubt, man. Appreciate you joining. Might get some other guests popping in shortly. But time for us to catch up, man. I haven't heard from you since last year. Didn't get your take on the trade. How was you feeling? Did your opinion change in the last 4 games? What's your thoughts? What was going on when you heard the trade?
Well, I do watch alongs. Always make sure I do the watch along for every single Knicks game, right? So I want, the during that little losing streak we had, we won. We think we lost like 3 out of 4. Before we won the 4 before the trade and stuff. I was done. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? I was completely done. Like I'm tired of RJ doing what RJ does. I'm tired of what IQ does. I'm tired of the roster just being weird. With not scoring. 5 minute droughts and stuff like that. So it's little things that I've been knowing that they just been characteristics of the Knicks for so long, and there hasn't been any change. Not just from the players, not from the coach, and not from Leon Rose either. I felt the feeling of relief when that trade was made because that means that somebody took responsibility for what's happening out there. Something had to happen because I was saying that listen, Tom Thibodeau need to be fired immediately, or either Leon Rose need to do something. And I was done. I was done 4 games before the trade. I was done, completely
mm.
done. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, once they made the trade, OG's here, and now as you can see, 4 game winning streak. It's a coincidence, right? But not really. It's just that everybody's now doing their job now. They don't have somebody looking over their shoulder, or not necessarily that. It's just Tom Thibodeau makes weird decisions, with substitutions and stuff like that. So now guys are able to get into their roles and whatever, just almost instantaneously, man. So
The
I believe it's a
options
great, yeah, definitely.
the options opened up for Tibbs. The options opened up on the court in the starting unit.
Yeah,
For sure. I got a couple of topics I want to talk about today. Just I guess the recent Knicks news since my last show for sure. Um, we'll start with Brunson, man. Brunson getting Player of the Week. That was announced earlier today. I think this is his second one this year.
yeah.
Player of the Week. Julius Randle had one. I think Randle was Player of the Month, Eastern Conference Player of the Month for December. You know what I
Wow.
mean? So um, kudos to them. But we start with Brunson. Man, he put his assist numbers up to 9.3. I think this past week, I should say. Had the 14 assists career high. Back that up with the 13 assists. What's your thoughts on Brunson this past week? Him getting his second, player of the week for Eastern Conference. Does this get him closer to the All Star? Um, you know what I mean? All NBA. What are your thoughts on this Brunson Brunson news? And did you hear about it? I don't know.
Yeah, I heard about it. What's funny about that is that Julius Randle was like right in the runnings too, and Julius had 30 points per game for the week, and he had one game against Philly where he had 8 points. So, Julius is cooking too, man. So, kudos to our dynamic duo, man. People talk too much about the Knicks. Like, we don't got no superstars and stuff like that. But, here we are beating the teams with the superstars, and people still got something to say, man. So,
That's a
but,
fact.
yeah, man. But, just for Brunson, it comes down to the same thing. As soon as we made that Obi trade, everybody's where they're supposed to be. So now Brunson has the room to do to do what he does. A lot of times he's kind of forcing it, doing a little bit. He'll come down, man. Sometimes I like, damn, you hurt. I feel like my neck because my neck is hurting me now for some reason. But I think
Mm.
it's because of Jalen Brunson. He'll make a move, he'll go wow, 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 like this, and then he's doing like that. I'm like, how did he make that shot? But now he doesn't have to do that because he could take it easy because now guys are where they're supposed to be. So as you notice, like Dante is his cuts make more sense. OG's cut the same way too. So now everything makes more sense now. I think the ball is moving and the point guard could find his men now. So been a beautiful thing ever since that trade.
No doubt. I actually was surprised. It's funny you mentioned Randall because I was gonna bring it up afterwards because I thought it was a chance, like you said, it was a chance for him to get it.
Yeah,
And honestly, I think that one game, with 8 points, even though the numbers are still phenomenal overall, I think that one game might have been the reason. But
yeah,
how like you saying, man, how great is that for us to have two players in the conversation for best player in the for the week in our conference, and again, like that narrative where we don't have a guy, or we don't have an A1, or not good enough to be the third best, or whatever these narratives and conversations are. I mean, we just one, I feel like the Knicks hear it, but then we continue to just prove people wrong, or show out when we're supposed to. For Brunson, I feel like the only one that he hasn't done it against at this point is Halliburton. You know what I mean? And I feel like that might have been some motivation for this week because he's coming off that game, you know, where he had the career high in assists. You know what I mean? Coming off that game, he's that was the start of this week where he wins the award. So, um, yeah, kudos to him. Nick fans, chat, you know what I mean? Spread the message, spread the word. Let's go vote. If you didn't vote today, vote right now. You can vote every day. I know a lot of people had that misconception. Every day, every 24 hours, you can vote.
yeah,
Let's vote both of these guys in there, and put them in the conversation. Even if we don't get them in there, let's get the numbers up to where it's eye opening, and then that gives them a shot um with the coaches. Even though I think the coaches will recognize a little bit more. You know what I mean? They see
yeah.
these guys either 2 to 4 times, sometimes 6 times a year. So they know who these guys are. But yeah, let's go out there and vote and get them in. Um
Knicks fans around the world, we're all fickle, man. All of us are from New York. A lot of the Knicks fans are from New York or whatever. But it's a shame. It's almost like a shame, because I mean, we didn't, like I mentioned this on other pods too. Like we didn't appreciate Ewing when he was here. When he was
mhm.
here, people were saying that he was soft. He shoots too much. Shoots too many jumpers. He needed to go inside, that type of thing. Now hindsight is, it's 2020. When I say that, people say, "Nah, man, Ewing was good." This that. Nah, but at the time, people used to talk junk about him. You know what I'm saying? So at the time, people didn't really appreciate what he was bringing to the table. Same thing happened now. Julius absolutely has had his issues and stuff, but looking at his body of work, for like the last 5 seasons now, he's been incredible. And then when it comes down to it, if he gets an extension, he's going to be up there with some of the top Knicks as far as numbers and stuff. So, history is gonna tell the real story because, like I said, another 10 years from now, people gonna look back. Yo, remember Julius Randle? Yo, Julius Randle was a beast. Yo, I'm like, yo, ain't you the same dude? You know what I'm saying? People are funny like that. But that's all the reason for, like you said, to get out there and vote, man. There's
that
just like mad Knicks fans here. Shout out to Josh is popping in here, because Josh was getting on Knicks fans. Are we really the smartest? Are we really the best fan base? Because that's the truth. Are we really the best fan base?
No, 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 Eru. I didn't say that. Don't mince my words.
Man,
I
what did
said,
you
are we
say
the
then?
biggest? Are we the biggest fan base? I think that could possibly be looked at as a myth, right? Because I don't believe that's the case. But I didn't mean to
Oh,
cut y'all off. I just want to
mhm.
hop in, for a few. I'm in a hotel right now, so the internet is horrible. So that's the reason why I'm not on camera. So
okay.
just the FYI for everybody.
Fair enough. I think for sure we're top 3 fan bases in the NBA. I
As
mean,
far as what?
as far as, what do you mean as far as what? I'm well, let me explain some points. Number 1, how many teams can go on the road and get chance in the opposing team's arena for them? Like we see in New York. For New York, we've seen it in Philly just recently. We've seen it in Orlando for years. We've seen it in Miami. We've seen it in New York. I mean, Brooklyn when they was in Jersey. Like, I mean, Atlanta. Like,
Charlotte,
I mean,
all the coast.
Charlotte.
Yeah.
I think the list is can go on and on. I don't know if I've seen that from any other fan base. Now, granted, obviously, I don't watch the Lakers to the
There
extent
you go. I was
that
waiting for you to come out with
I
that.
don't watch the Lakers to the extent that I watch the Knicks, but I can honestly say I see Laker jerseys everywhere. What you know what I mean? But the chants, you know what I mean? The crowd
Oh, that's what
overpowering
we're gonna break it down to. We're gonna minimize it to the chance. That's how you're
is
gonna prove your point.
I mean is I'm acknowledging that I see Laker jerseys and Laker fans everywhere. But I'm specifically talking about the chants. I don't think that's lowering it. I think that's a big thing. I think that's huge. You know what I mean? Like the
Well, just
Philadelphia
because
announcers
certain fans are
are
not as
saying
obnoxious as New Yorkers doesn't mean that their fan base is not bigger.
Well, it's not just obnoxious because I mean, you're talking about like a revenue that comes in. Like they're not just making noise; they're showing up in like half the arena, if not even 60% of the arena is all orange and blue. You don't see
Well,
that in
you're talking about the Charlottes and those types of teams. Like my okay, so just to correct you, E-Rule, my point was I don't think the New York Knicks have the biggest fan base around the NBA. I think that is a myth. Now, you can say top 2, top 3, even in the top 5, whatever it is, but I don't think it's necessarily the biggest, and I don't think there's anything objective to prove that. And to Tony's point, you talk about Lakers, you talk about Celtics, and the Knicks, and the Warriors. These are heritage franchises that have been around since the 1940s, 1950s, right? So, but based off of that, you can say that the Knicks are in the top, whatever, but there's no objective thing to say that the Knicks have the biggest fan base. I mean, what objective proof do we have? They're one of them, but they're not the biggest.
I mean, again, they're definitely one of them. I think that's the argument. I mean, can you
Okay.
prove it? Can you
if they're
prove
not
it?
number one, they're like number one B.
And my point is, you can't prove it either way. You know what I mean? But visually, you can see it. You know what I mean? You can hear it.
I'll put it to you this way. I'm going to go by my experience. Now, I'm younger than both of y'all. Y'all my OGs. It's nothing but respect. So I'm going to just give you my perspective being
Right off the bat, that's disrespectful.
the millennial. No. It's called love. Like being the millennial, and to a lot of people that's watching. First of all, salute to the chat. Knicks and Bruises family. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Show my boy Tony some love. You know what I'm saying? Knicks on a 4-game winning streak. You know what I mean? We should be happy. You know what I mean? So all this conversation we talk about is just for shits and giggles, so to speak. But my experience being the younger, and had come the Queen, so I definitely gotta respect it. You know what I'm saying? Respectfully. I remember when I was in middle school and elementary school, growing up in Brooklyn, in New York, before the Nets even existed and stuff like that. I remember going to school and I didn't really find too many Knicks fans. Mostly it was Laker fans that lived in New York. It was, of other teams that were out there that were doing way better than what we were doing at the time. Now, the kind of argument can be they can be fair weather fans, but I just think, the lack of superstardom within our franchise's history plays a big part to why I think our fan base is not the biggest, number one, but also that contributes to the lack of winning because the Knicks are historically a losing organization. If you look at the win-loss records, that's what the Knicks have been, right? And I think the lack of superstardom contributes to that, and I think that's ultimately why, a lot of other fan bases may have passed us in that regard as far as being the biggest fan base. Now, I still think we are one of the biggest fan bases. I just don't think we're the biggest one because of those reasons I mentioned. So
that's fair. That's fair. And part of that is 100% accurate because I know I can probably name 10 people off the top of my head alone, like without even really thinking about it, who I know are Knicks fans at heart. You know what I mean? But over the years, because of the Knicks and Bruises, they have jumped ship. And you know what I mean? But as soon as the Knicks is rocking again, guess what kind of outfit I might see them wearing, or guess what game they're gonna be going to, or you know what I mean, guess who they're gonna be cheering for. So I think you're right in that sense. It's been hard. I mean, and not a lot of fans have weathered the storm as well as others. You know what I mean? Some people stop watching basketball altogether. You know what I mean?
I think it's because a lot of people, like you mentioned, Tony. I think a lot of people want the Knicks to do well. And I hate to bring up this name, but Stephen A. Smith is one of them. Like, I think deep down, despite whatever he says and the the extreme takes that he has to get clout, whatever that is, I think deep down we all want to see the Knicks do well. But the thing is, we were so bad for a long time. And it just was a lot of heartache that a lot of fans weren't willing to really take. You know what I mean? So I think, everybody's most people, most fans are bandwagon fans. You know what I mean? So it is what it is.
Like I always say, multiple things can be true at the same time.
You know
What's
what's
up?
true too? Golden State right now, the last 5, 6 years, ever since they won those championships, all of a sudden we got all these Golden State Warrior fans. But before that, there was no Golden State Warrior fans. There was no such thing. And that's since they won the
Right,
championship
but
in the
Ebro,
70s.
they've been around. That franchise has been around just as long as the Knicks, and they play in a huge market. Matter of fact, they were in Philly before they went to the Bay Area, right? So
Well,
I look
the
at,
Knicks were the originators though, 1940 something. Golden State didn't come until after.
but I'm saying around the same era, around the same time frame. I think the Knicks might have been before that, but my point is, Golden State's been around, or the Warriors franchise has been around for a long time. And I look at the Knicks, what they're doing right now, they're kind of in that same spot as the Warriors, right? Because the Warriors didn't have that much success in the 80s, right? They had the TMC era in the early 90s and stuff like that. That y'all can probably remember because I was still a shorty. You know what I'm saying? But they had that era, but they were devoid of championships for a very, very long time until the dynasty, the Curry, dynasty. And I think the Knicks are going through that same kind of phase right now. And now I think once the Knicks win, particularly if they can win a couple, they'll be right on the Warriors level as far as that's concerned, because you'll see a lot of those bandwagoners fans coming. So, it is what it is. I mean, I'm just, just speaking my opinion on that. Some people don't agree, but it is what it is.
Come back. Salute, Queen.
That too.
Speaking of coming back, welcome back. Yep, I think you muted.
Salute everybody. Ebro, long time.
Yeah,
Yes,
what's up?
yes.
It's been a whole year, right?
Yeah.
We spoke about Brunson winning the player of the week.
Oh, I wasn't even
this week.
aware. I've been locked in my hole. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So I think that's his second one of the year. I believe Randall got player of the month for December.
Okay.
And to Eru's point, Randall was right in that running for player of the week this week, even with that 8-point game in the middle of it. So I just want to know specifically with Brunson. I mean, you haven't really gathered your thoughts on it, but what's your take? Second time player of the week. Does this help him in those, all-star standings? Does this help his chances? Definitely a step in the right direction.
I think it does. You're right. I haven't been able to get my thoughts together on this and the whole Brunson All-Star thing. But I have two opinions. I don't know if they're opposing or not. One of them is that I definitely think he's going to get in because the narrative nationwide has been that he was snubbed. So unless he just breaks a leg and can't play anymore, I think he's going to get in. Another part of me feels like he had a much better season last year than this year. However, statistically, probably not. And also, we look at him every single game. And so close up under the microscope, we can be like, I thought he was a little more clutch last season. I thought he was a little more this last season. However, these other players, we don't see them we're not seeing them that way as well. So from afar, we could be like, I think Tyrese, should get it over Brunson. Or I think this player should get it over Brunson. But we don't have those players under the microscope like we have Brunson under the microscope, right? Because we're watching him. So, it's important to him. If he gets it, he gets it. I know what he is and what Randall is to the Knicks, whether they get voted in or not.
Two points for what you said. Number one, first point is for me when I'm looking at it like that from, watching the Knicks all the time, not necessarily watching everybody else. That's when those head-to-head matchups kind of could tip the scale or kind of put things in better perspective for me. So I gotta acknowledge, obviously, Halliburton head-to-head or Halliburton, combined with what I've seen from him this season is that biggest competition. I know a lot of people threw Maxey out there, but when I look at what I've heard and seen from Maxey, then the head to head, you know what I mean? I'm putting Brunson there. You know what I mean? So Halliburton is definitely the biggest competition. And I can't believe I lost my other point. I'm gonna try to remember it.
Yeah. You were talking head to head up against, I guess, other point guards. You mentioned Halliburton and Maxey. I don't know if you wanted to mention anybody else.
Well, no, I think those were the main guys in the running against him.
Lillard.
Lillard as well. Lillard hasn't really. I don't know if he had a dominant game against us. I don't know if he was the determining factor, if
Yeah,
you
he
will.
did. The first game we played Milwaukee, he closed us out. Even though Brunson also had a really great game, but that game, Lillard closed us out, hit them big threes at the end.
Yes, but that was his moment in the game, as opposed to looking at the entire game and how he played and how Brunson played. That's what I mean. I feel like Brunson has played better than him, even in the games we've lost. You know what I mean? That's the way I'm looking at it when I say head to head. Yeah, Lillard closed the game out, and great for him. That's points, but through the course of that game, Brunson outplayed him.
Can I address that? And this goes to Steph's point when she said that, you know, she feels that Brunson has regressed, you know, compared to last season. I think that is 100% true. But see, looking at it that way, that you'll look at it, you know, Brunson against himself, basically, right? You know what I mean? Because even though Brunson has regressed, you still have to consider the rest of the field.
Right.
Like so, and I know Queen. I know I'm not saying you're not doing that. I'm just saying, you know, that point basically points to just ranking Brunson against himself, because I think Randall had regressed in that, you know, a season after that he made first team All NBA. Following season, he still made it back to All NBA. So you can regress, but still get to some of those same types of levels. But my overarching point is Halliburton right now, because Halliburton was the one that they picked over Brunson last season. Remember? Halliburton is playing even better than what he did last season. Halliburton is on a different type of planet right now. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying Brunson is, you know, it ain't good, or, you know, he's not an All NBA player or All Star caliber player, because he most certainly is. But when you these conversations, I think should have the context of other players that they're competing against as well. You know, in that regard, despite the regression that we might think that Brunson has had, or whoever else. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to put that point out there.
No, you make and that's actually what I was trying to say. Like, we watch him game in and game out, so we understand the nuances of his game, when he scores, how he scores for us, so we can see the difference. However, for All-Star voting, we're not watching these other guys under the microscope. So we're comparing Brunson with Brunson. But now we're comparing Brunson with Maxey, who we don't see every day, with Dame, who we don't see every day. So, in other words, Brunson's stats, his overall stats, should speak for itself, just like every other player's stats is speaking for them. The other thing I want to point out is, as fans, we all have such different criteria for what's an all-star. Like, I saw somebody in the chat say Brunson is not better than Trey. So that's how some people vote. Who's the best player? Like, I don't think who's the best player when I'm voting for All-Star. I'm thinking who's having a better season. I may also say, you know, if it's close, where's the team? Where's that team ranked? But when the player in the chat, the person in the chat said that Brunson is not better than Trey, I'm like, what does that have to do with it? But that's how some people vote.
And that might be the majority number of voters, period. Where they may even say, I'm a Bucks fan, I'm voting Giannis, I'm voting Dame, and now everybody else I'm voting on a different scale. You know what I mean? Like, I'm voting on, all right, Trey Young's the best guy, so I'm gonna put Trey Young, or this guy's so yeah, they may not even have an inkling of the field.
And that's what I keep saying about subjectivity. The fans are subjective. Even Knicks fans mostly are extremely subjective. Like, Tony, you said that fans should get out and vote. But what if, you know, fans are out there that don't consider Brunson like all-star worthy over Halliburton or the rest of them? That's a subjective opinion, right? So how important is the fan vote if you really think about it? And you can vote more than once. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right. The fans is 50% of the 50% of of the vote. But this is the Knicks fan base.
Yeah,
Other
Right.
fan
that's what I'm
bases is
saying.
like, I don't care if my player is averaging 6 points a game. I will
Mhm.
vote them in every time.
And
Knicks
that's
fan
what I'm
base is
urging Knicks
like,
fans to do.
right.
That's what
But,
because
Gotcha.
there's
but
Knicks
that's what I'm
fans that
saying.
say
It's subjective.
this guy's
Right.
in the chat right now. I don't want to call him out, and I'm not trying to call him out. I just remember in the chat somebody
too.
said, "I voted today. I voted for Brunson." You know what I mean? Like so basically, I'm not voting for Randall because I don't like Randall. Like as a Knicks fan, I say be like the rest of the fans. Vote all Knicks. You know what I mean? Like get our guys in there.
That's the issue with Knicks fans, though. Knicks fans will hold grudge against their own players, you know, and that's crazy. You know,
See, but D Coolest, I don't understand. I don't understand like how you have this criteria. This is another subjective opinion. You're not a real Knicks fan if you don't vote for Knicks guys. What kind of nonsense is that? You vote. The whole reason why the fans have to vote is because the fans want to see the players that they want to see. It doesn't necessarily have to be from your own team.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So what? Somebody's less than a Knicks fan because they didn't vote. Who else we got? OG Anunoby and the All-Star game. I mean, come on. I just think it's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Listen,
no, I'm not voting for. If I was in the '90s, I'm not taking John Starks over Michael Jordan in the All-Star game. Are you kidding me? You out of your mind?
You could feel that. You could feel that way. I'm telling you, this is what I'm telling all Knicks fans. Vote Knicks. If you want, when you vote for the West Coast, now you could go ahead and use your criteria and best player and whatever the case. But when you're doing the East Coast, vote Knicks, or at the very least, vote Brunson and Randall because not number one, they deserve it. They deserve
100%.
it. You know what I mean? That's number one. You know what I mean? Because I'll be honest, I vote all Knicks except I do vote Embiid because I mean I can't even front. One, Richard Robinson's hurt, but but two, I mean he's playing better than he did last year where he won the MVP. You know what I mean? But at the very least, vote the guys that deserve it. You know what I mean?
Well,
but that's contrary to what you said, Tony. Vote all Knicks. That's contrary to what you said.
Or I'm not mad if you vote on Knicks, but I am mad if you exclude Randall because you don't like him, as opposed to saying Randall's not playing like an all-star. Randall's
right.
I don't like Randall. Like to me, that's not being a fan.
Right. And not only that, there's 2 guard spots. There's 3 forward spots. So I hear people in the chat, well, I'm not going to vote for Randall over Giannis. You can vote for both.
Yeah.
You know, you
I've been
can vote
doing,
for both Randall and but what I've noticed from Knicks fans, and I hear you, Tony, there is other fan bases that's gonna Chicago, maybe not this year, but years past was still voting for Derrick Rose, and he wasn't even on their team and was barely playing on the Knicks. So there are fan bases like that. That's not the Knicks fan base in my experience. This fan base is who are the best players in the Eastern Conference, whether they are Knicks or not. And you know, that's how they do it. This was the first year I voted for Brunson and Randall and did not vote for any of their competitors, even if I felt they deserved it. I didn't vote for them. And usually I don't do that. Usually I'll vote for the others that deserve it, but I'm like, it might be this close. You know?
But again,
that's
me,
how I'm
that's
fanning this
to
year.
me, that's Knicks fandom. That's being a fan. That's strategic in your
I'll be a strategic this year. I
like,
don't always do that.
Like that's but that's part of me saying vote on Knicks. So even if you don't want to vote on Knicks, you know what I mean? Don't vote a guy who's directly in competition with Brunson if you're trying to get Brunson in. You know what I mean? Like play chess out here.
Some people are voting because guys got sneakers. You know, this guy Damian Lillard got a freaking rap album out, so they might like his rap career. So I mean, it's all a popularity contest. So I mean, after the first 2 guys are picked, like we're saying, the first 2 guards and first 3 forwards, the rest of it is voted in. So all of that has to do with the coaches, right? The coaches vote the rest.
Yes. And that goes along to Steph's point about the national narrative, right? Because I think the media does have a percentage in that, and I think the media also votes more for the All NBA than they do for the All Star as far as the percentages are concerned. I think what she brought up is very important about the narrative changing. It helps that we have a guy like Perkins on ESPN that's basically showing, putting it out there that Brunson is that dude and stuff like that, because that's going to change the narrative. It also goes back to them feeling like he got snubbed last season. The same thing happened with Embiid and the MVP voting, because between Giannis, Jokic, and Embiid that year, that MVP thing could have went either way. For as a matter of fact, the previous 2 seasons before that, it could have went Jokic, Giannis, or Embiid. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a lot of that to play with, like a lot of the politics and stuff like that. And I think based off of that, I think Brunson is not going to get left out, despite the lack of fan voting. I think Brunson is going to get in, and at the very least, even if he doesn't make it, I still think he's all-star caliber, right? He's all-star caliber. He's a star player, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that in regards to the roster construction a little bit later, Tony, whenever you're ready. But either way,
I remember what I was gonna say. I think Brunson's game against the Pacers and Halliburton's performance against the Knicks definitely put a spark in Brunson moving forward. You know what I mean? Like next game he had the 14 assists, after that 13. So I think it opened his eyes a little bit. I mean, maybe OG as well, but I definitely feel like there's like a little rivalry between those two brewing. I spoke on it before.
Brunson has been tremendous on national TV. I think he's averaging like 35, and he's been on the national TV games, nationally televised, TNT, ESPN. Brunson shows up, like, and he's like been in like a couple rough games before those like national televised games, but when it comes to national TV, Brunson be turning up. So I think he does feel some sort of way about the whole all-star thing and that competition that you spoke about, Tony. I think that's important.
Yeah, but I think it dates back to the Olympics. You know what I mean? Because when the Olympics started, it was Brunson, it was Captain America, it was, you know what I mean? And then by the end of it, even though we didn't win, we didn't medal out, Halliburton was getting the point guard shine. You know what I mean? Halliburton was getting the minutes that Brunson was getting, the closing minutes and things of that nature. So I think it kind of been brewing and competitively between those two since then. The other thing that I was gonna say is, you know, he like you saying, Josh, he steps up in big moments. So even if he don't get that all-star nod, remember what he did after the all-star game last year? Like, remember the run he was on after he got snubbed?
Including the playoffs. 100%.
Yeah, I expect that same. I mean, not saying he wouldn't do it either way, but I expect that same type of motivation, that same type of chip on the shoulder, that same type of, oh, I'm gonna show y'all like I've been doing my whole life, showing people.
He also gets incentivized with this contract for making all-stars, so I think that's a part of it too. We can't forget about that. The money, like he wants to get paid a large contract as well.
As does Randall. Let me get to the super chat. Trav V Ryan, appreciate the super chat. He said Randall haters aren't going to vote for Randall because him being a 3-time all-star weakens their argument. I think there's merit to that. Like,
I think that shows why the Knicks fans are the best, not the best, but the biggest fan base, because we can alienate our own players and force them from getting trophies, because we just won't vote for them because we hate him so much. He's on our team.
And Randall looked, I could be reading into it, but he looked kind of disappointed when they told him he didn't make the time. He was like, you know what, thank you, for all the fans who did vote for me. Thank you. I'm just going to go out and do, I'm focused on winning the championship. Then he went out. I think that was the 8-point night. So I don't know. I can be putting two and two together, but I think he was disappointed.
I agree with you 100%, Queen. I mean, that's the way I correlate things for sure. And yeah, the interview came out right around that same time too. You know what I mean? With him wanting to win a championship and bring a championship to New York, and how much that would mean to him, and he don't want to do it nowhere else. And so, yeah, I think for sure that that plays a part.
He also knows that he's gonna get paid too. He gonna get a max contract. I mean, that goes without saying. And I think he's gonna make All NBA this year, right? So that'll be 3 times in 4 years he's gonna make All NBA. All-Star team or whatever. He's gonna make All NBA, and the next season as well, he's gonna make All NBA. You know what I'm saying? So he gonna get paid a max contract, and he took less money to sign the contract, his extension there. Oh yeah, he know the Knicks. He know the Knicks got him. He know that.
Well, I hope for. Well, he changed agents, and maybe that was also sending a message that there won't be discounts this time.
Yeah, you're probably right, Queen.
Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense because under
Yeah.
working under CAA, that has been the trend. You know what I mean? Like scratch my back, scratch yours. You know what I mean? Descendant contract with it. Like he may be like, nah, this is what I want. Let me get a guy who's
That's
gonna
what it is.
negotiate
Yep.
exactly what I want,
Yep.
and no no loopholes, no
No conflict of
fine
interest.
print. Yeah, yeah, no conflict of interest. Good, yeah, and I mean, that could be a show in itself. I don't think today's the time for that. But let me get to this next super chat. Knicks are nice. He says salute all-star panel for sure. Got the Queen back in the building. Got Josh in the building, and Eru haven't been on the show with him since last year. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I mean, it is just January 9th, 8th,
I,
but
I know. I know. The next news that broke that I kind of wanted to just talk about real quick was the Taj Gibson waiving. So Taj Gibson has been waived, opened up a roster spot. First and foremost, I definitely want to salute Taj. Appreciate Taj. I'm sure if the opportunity opens up, you might even be back again. You know what I mean? If there's some type of emergency situation, um, there's been talks about him potentially joining the coaching staff, which I think would be phenomenal. Um, and so I want to get your guys' thoughts on that. Um, his contract would have been guaranteed today had they kept him. So do you think that was more of the reasoning behind waiving him, or is it the flexibility of the open roster spot? You know, now you can do a 2-for-1, 3-for-2 type trade. And doesn't mean there's a trade looming. I mean, we've been talking about it, speculating. Maybe. I mean, I kind of think there was anyway, but does this heighten that? Um, we start with Queen Eru, Josh.
I think it was for um, roster spot flexibility. As they look to um, improve the roster. I think that was what it was about, and they had the luxury, if you want to call it that, to do so, having Precious now on the team. If Precious wasn't here, they would have had to keep him. I think. Yeah.
You muted
Yeah,
yourself.
and the fact, like I said, always bring them back at any time. The minimum contract, you bring them back on the same contract where it's not guaranteed to to a certain date or whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
And you bring up a good point about Precious. Maybe we'll add that when you go, Ero. Do you think this is showing that they have some belief or some role for Precious? Because they could have easily just kept Taj there. Even the what it would have cost, even if they waived him after it was guaranteed, I don't think it would have been significant enough to where they bat an eye. You know what I mean? So if they could have still kept Taj, you know what I mean, just for his veteran presence, for leadership or whatever the case. Again, and he may be a coach, so we'll see. What do you think, Ero?
What to waive uh Gibson over Precious? I mean, to waive Precious over Gibson.
Do you think the waiving of I mean, when once we made that trade, Taj hasn't played, right? I
Right.
think he might have played like garbage minutes. Pressure is it's not like he was getting 20, 30 minutes or whatever, but he was being put on the floor in more meaningful time than Taj was. So do let me make that a separate question about Precious. What's your thoughts of the waiving of Taj, ramifications, um, his time here, him potentially being a coach, all that?
Well, I mean, Taj. I mean, he kind of almost hurt himself there, man. He could have hurt his back or whatever. I mean, he's sitting on the couch. He's ordering Chinese food. And all this other stuff, man. So I think he's hurting himself trying to come back and play and stuff. But he just did the Knicks a solid. Tom Tittle is his boy, so I don't think they planned on keeping him that long. It was just like definitely a stopgap kind of thing. So I mean, to get rid of him off the roster, then it absolutely just so it says the Knicks might make a move. But the Knicks have been, the 10-day contracts are coming soon too, so we might end up going that route. So you never know, but it is fun, to talk about trades and possible guys we could bring here. But Taj Gibson being here as a coach, um, you know, he's been getting better himself the last few years. It's just that he's old now. He has like really good pivot moves in the paint and stuff like that. But he's just a little bit too old to kind of show anybody that stuff. But I mean, him being a coach, and yeah, if they decide to bring him in there, I think that'd be cool. But not something that we're gonna like, um, you know, clear coaches and stuff that are qualified just to get Gibson there. That's another thing too. So I mean, it's cool to have him around. Good luck, charm.
Yeah, I could envision him being the new oh man, now I was gonna say Buck Williams, but that's not who I'm referring to. Who
Herb?
am I talking about? Herb Williams. There we
Yeah.
go. Herb Williams.
Oh boy. Tony, yeah, it's my turn. Can I go?
Yeah, for sure.
So to answer your question, I'm not really worried about whether Taj becomes a coach or not. I don't think that's going to make that big of an impact, in my opinion, for this current team. If he becomes a coach, I think it's a nice story. He's reuniting with Tibbs. Transitioning to that next part of his career, that type of thing. But as far as like this current team, I'm not really worried about Taj Gibson as an assistant coach. I mean, if it happens, it happens. But it's more of a feel-good story more than anything, rather than how it can tangibly help this team. Now, what does help this team is the fact that they did waive him before his contract became guaranteed. The Knicks are, I believe, $5 or $6 million underneath the luxury tax right now. So I think that's why they did it. They want to maximize the most amount of money as possible so that if they do decide to make a trade, which I think they will, they open up a roster spot, do a 2 for 1, 3 for 2 type of trade. So they open up a roster spot with that. But also, you want to, make sure you stay underneath that luxury tax. So the more money you can not have there, the better. And I think that's solely what this move was for that purpose right there. And now that they got Precious Achua, they really don't need the insurance for Taj Gibson as much as they did before. So that's just where I'm at with it. I mean, if he becomes a coach, cool, nice story. Put it on the front of the paper. Yay, all that good, feel good stuff, for us. But I'm not worried about that.
All
You
right,
know what takes the place of Gibson? Ryan Archinato, because he had the same situation. They had until 5 o'clock to finalize his contract, but they chose to keep him around, and get rid of Taj Gibson. So Ryan is another guy that's a waste, kind of a waste of space. He's not really going to help us. We got a lot of guards, so Ryan will never play. I mean, Gibson will probably play
Right,
before
but
Ryan.
the thing is, you don't want to make the roster. You don't want to make the roster size so small because now you waive him, then you're talking about 13 guys on the roster instead of 14. Right, so you
I know,
also
but I'm
have to
saying
consider
they
that as
could
well.
they could have chosen to waive on Ryan rather than Gibson, but they chose Gibson instead of Ryan.
I agree with Eru. If you had to bet one of these two guys was getting on the floor and in a meaningful situation, it's 100% Taj. You know what I mean? Over Ryan, like things would have had to gone tragically wrong. You know what I mean? For Ryan to be in a rotational situation on this team.
That's why I mentioned it,
you
because
also have to
they
consider
could
the
have waived
fact that-
Ryan instead of Gibson. Go ahead.
Well, what they could have. I mean, they could have. You're absolutely right. I mean, I see where you're going with that as far as everything that I said in regards to opening up a roster spot, 2 for 1, 3 for 2 types of trades. But also, you have to consider the locker room factor. Like Ryan Arcidiacono is best friends with Josh Hart. All those guys are Villanova guys. So that's the reason why he's there. You know what I'm saying? That's the sole reason why he's there, and he's filling that role. I mean, I don't have a problem with it either way. I mean, I wouldn't be mad at it. But
we know that. We acknowledge it. We know that, and we acknowledge it. I think what we're saying is when we're talking about a skill level or a talent level or just usefulness, Taj would be the guy more likely to be utilized. I mean, we just seen him utilized coming back off the couch, like Eru said, like because of the position, because of the need. But still, I think we would say Taj is more likely to be a better break in case of emergency asset on the team than Ryan. We know why Ryan's here.
No,
Ryan's here.
I completely understand that, but I just think the Knicks are looking at that point about the whole Villanova situation, and at the same time, I really feel like, and I'm thankful for this, that they're not really prioritizing the center and the power forward position as much as they do the guards. Like I like this current roster the way it's constructed right now. I am not a fan of the Knicks basically, stacking and putting as much centers out there, even though Tom Thibodeau is who he is. I'm not a fan of that. I would rather them, have more guards than they have forwards, in my opinion. I would rather that. That's more prototypical today's NBA. But I think the big thing with that, as far as choosing one or the other, I think the big reason why they did it is for the locker room. And I have no problem with that.
Yeah, but when you talk about player, and this is my last point on this, like I get your point with the guards, but when we talk, it don't matter how many guards you got or how many forwards you got. I want the most effective player, the most useful player, like to be the last guy on the bench rather than the guy waived. That's all I'm saying. And it's
Fair enough.
again, I have no problem with Taj came in, he did his job, he got a little paycheck. You know what I mean? Like I hope he does get on the coaching staff. I think it could help, and even if it doesn't help us like in any tangible way, it definitely won't hurt. And it's a jump start to a career if he's trying to move into that coaching realm. So why not get your start under Tibbs on this team that the players know the team. You know what I mean? Like it may be a nice jump start to get above a learning curve where you may start somewhere else and have to figure a lot more things out and maybe ask less questions. Anything else on Taj? Or we could probably move on from that, right?
Yeah.
Shout out to Taj though. Salute. Appreciate you coming back. You know what I mean? He had some good moments against Giannis. You know what I mean? Good defensive moment. You know what I mean? Had looked like you was about to pass out couple times on
He
the
was
court.
calling for a sub. He looked like what's the name? Big Snacks back in the days when he called for a sub. That's how he looked, man.
And Tibbs turned his head, looked out the way. Yeah. All right. This is the hot take. This is the big one. I mean, there's valid arguments that the Knicks are the best team in 2024, right? I mean, 4-0. That's the we're on the longest win streak currently of any team in the league. I think the Cavs are 3-0. Somebody else is 3-0, but we got them by a game as far as the 4-0 record or 4-0 run. I mean, there's plus minus numbers getting floated around there. Shout out to Tommy Beer. I got this one. Just NBA leaders in plus minus in 2024, right? So you got number 1 Isaiah Hartenstein plus 94, number 2 OG plus 85, number 3 Jalen Brunson plus 81, Josh Hart plus 60, number 4, number 5 is Jason Tatum plus 53, number 6 Walker Kessler 53, and number 7 Julius Randle plus 54 52. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the top 7 leading the league in plus minus this year, 2024, early. Like Queen said, it's just the 8th. But I mean, is this the OG effect? Is this? We know what the Knicks do after a trade. You know what I mean? We've seen it in the overall record. Once we got Derrick Rose, we've seen it immediately with Josh Hart with the 9-0 run. We're currently on a 5-0 run. I'm not trying to look too far ahead, one game at a time. But what are your thoughts about this? Like, because these stats, they kind of blew my mind. Is it something you take with a grain of salt? Josh, how about you go second? Because you went first last.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Time, and then I
Queen went first last time. No, you're right. You're right. So go ahead.
Oh, no, I mean you went last, and then I started with you.
Let him go first. Let him go first.
All right, go ahead. Take the floor, Josh.
I mean, I'm not trying to spoil your mood or nothing, Tony, but I mean, come on. I mean,
numbers are the numbers, and numbers don't lie.
I get it. The Knicks they're playing well, and they did it against two top teams, right? They did it against Philly, and they did it against Minnesota, right? I think the big takeaway from all of that is the OG trade, no question about it. But I mean, I got to keep reiterating this point. I just think the Knicks are bigger. They're bigger, so they can match up better with those teams. It's to me, it's obvious. Like when I watch them, I just see that. I see that they have somebody in OG playing at the three that they can be able to switch at times and put on fours. They can put them on twos, things of that nature. I think that's the big difference for this team. Sim was one of the big people that was advocating for defense. He felt like the Knicks should play more of that style. But before they made that trade, and I just didn't really buy it because I don't think the Knicks were big enough. They were undersized at the three. By adding OG Anunoby there, to me, I just think that made all the difference. And then their defense has just been stepping up. I think they're in those 4 games. I don't know what the defensive numbers are, but they've been playing great defense. I mean, just really good defensively, right? And still scoring points as well, right? So I think that's the major difference for me. Like, I think that's the biggest takeaway from all those plus and minus numbers that you mentioned. It's the defense.
And again, I'm not trying to even go into a deep dive because I know Queen's Quarters tonight. I know we reviewing the week in a lot more detail. So I'm only talking about these plus minus numbers because like I said, when I gotta listen, or am I wrong? You're gonna have a lot more stats and things in your show tonight, right? So that's what I'm saying. I'm only focusing on this because when I got the memo,
it don't matter if you want to focus on.
I don't have the numbers. You know what I mean? I don't have. You know what I mean? I'm only looking at what Tommy Bear put out. Like I knew OG's plus minus numbers on you know what I mean since he's got here. I knew that because I was looking into that, but I didn't think to look into the you know what I mean the team. So when I seen this, I'm just like, I just based off this, our defensive numbers have to be tremendous. You know what I mean? Like there's no doubt in my mind. But going with these numbers, 4-0 record, I look, maybe somebody else was 4-0 in this stretch, right? No, nobody else. Everybody else, maybe they didn't play 4 games though. You know what I mean? They 3-0. I don't know, but I'm just saying we the best team in the league in 2024, and I'm rocking with it until the stats tell me anything different. Now, you're not gonna spoil my you know what I mean, rain on my parade, Josh. Because
not trying to. I mean, you're right. You have every right to
the numbers are what the numbers are until they change.
Right. I mean, I guess think that goes without saying. Though. I mean, the team is 4-0, so I mean, those numbers are going to be those numbers. I don't think that it is. No, but I got you. I feel you. Go, do your thing. You got it.
Nah, I mean, but so you taking it with a grain of salt. You're not getting too excited. You happy with the results, but it just is what it is at this point. That's what I'm taking from your take.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm taking it with a grain of salt because, like I said, I think this current team right now, I think this team can make a run. I think they can be just like what Atlanta did a few years ago when Ben Simmons had that atrocious Game 7. They want to take the shot or whatever, and Atlanta got to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think the Knicks can do that, right? I think it's going to take some luck, like or some situations to happen. I think they can get there this year. But I mean, it is what it is. I just point out the fact that all those things considered, the plus minus numbers, the record. I think the ultimate reason why that's the case is because they made the trade and we got bigger. And that's really what I'm really emphasizing with that. Like, we're so much better matching up against those teams. You know what I mean? So much better. Milwaukee, we can match up with them now. Minnesota, we can match up with them now, in my opinion, based on size. In my opinion, I think we can definitely do that. So that's it. That's really it.
Queen, what's your thoughts on those plus minus numbers? You know what I mean? Where we are at this year, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's impressive, what those players have been able to do. I think the Knicks have looked impressive in these 4 games. But I think this was in the making already, and OG took it over the top. So I think, DiVincenzo coming into the starting lineup really helped us offensively, even if he's not as good a point of attack defender as Grimes. What he gave us offensively just really outweighed whatever drop there was defensively. I think getting Hartenstein in that lineup over Mitch, and he's not the intimidator that Mitchell Robinson is back there. He doesn't, people are going in there with Mitch. They weren't trying a lot of times, but what he brought offensively, and he was able to rebound and play good position defense again, outweighed, in my opinion, what Mitch, um, the difference in defense between the two. So I just felt like we was going in, trending in that direction. And then you got OG now that just, in my opinion, just took us over the top because it did a few things. One, and this is something that I've been asking for a very long time. All 5 players was a threat.
Mm-hmm.
To me, RJ Barrett wasn't a threat, and Mitchell Robinson wasn't a threat. So he was a threat in terms of getting down, downhill. But I mean, like a shooting threat, you just didn't have it. Now I watch the games. Look at the key. Like when you watch the games, just look at the key and see how much space you have. I think another thing that's understated about the defense, because it's not just OG. I think he helps defensively. Don't get me wrong, but all 5 players are playing defense, and that helps.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just OG.
Nope.
Look at Julius Randle now.
Yep.
When you
Yeah.
play defense, you got to be on a string. You can have 4 players playing defense, and then one player just ole, and the whole thing breaks down.
Right.
And we're not having that. I think for me, I noticed for Julius Randle in the Utah game that his there was just more defensive reps. Obviously, he carries a big offensive load. I don't expect him to dig in on 100% defensive possession, but he's definitely doing it more than usual. He's running, he's running the floor. It's a lot of pressure that the Knicks are putting on teams offensively and defensively. And in my opinion, it started before OG, but OG just took it, over the top. And people, complain about Brunson's defense. And I don't think he's not the top of the list. But watch him getting over screens. Watch how many times the player with the ball picks up their dribble and passes it out because he cut off, a driving lane. So he's not the best defensive player at his position, but he's not the worst either. All of those guys are really buying in on the defensive end. And I'm just waiting to see what OG's imprint offensively is going to be, because I'm not happy with what I'm seeing so far. Like just standing out in the corner and just hoping that Brunson or Randall will, see him and pass him the ball. I know the last game I saw him, and I know he's not a shot creator, so you're not going to give him the ball and ask him to clear out. I get that. But I just feel like he needs to be a little more involved in the offense. And maybe it's just a matter of he just got here. That's what I'm saying. He just got here.
And if I could add, well, first shout out to Jersey Shore with the super chat. I don't want anyone older than 27 on this team. You want Taj, give him a job as a coach. I agree with the coaching thing, and my only rebuttal to the 27 is I don't care if you're 27 against 47. If 47 is more valuable, then I'm going with the 47-year-old.
I think your core has to be,
27.
similarly. And after that, I don't think it matters.
I lost my train of thought just like that. Oh, I just wanted to add that I agree that it's definitely been a team effort defensively. Randall's defense noticeably has been different since the trade, and I could pinpoint it to that definitely. But Hartenstein, I mean, he's stepped up and been tremendous. Every time I turn around, it's 4 blocks here, 3 blocks here, 2 blocks here, 2 steals here, 20 rebounds, 19 rebounds. Like, I mean, the things that this guy has been doing for us, it's really like the offensive is almost like a plus thing, because I'm trying to figure out what have we lost defensively from Mitchell Robinson. And this is no knock on Mitch. I was gonna stop you, Queen. I was gonna cut you off, and I was gonna say he didn't I forgot how you worded it. He's not playing over Mitchell Robinson. He's playing in place of him. You know what I mean? So I just because you know what I mean. If you're playing over him, it's like you got the choice. We didn't have a choice.
Right.
But yeah, man. This Evil. What's your thoughts on plus minus and just 2024 new year, new Knicks?
Well, I mean, I hate plus or minus to tell you the truth. Plus if we're winning, then if that group is winning, they're gonna have a higher plus or minus and stuff. But I mean, to get the gist of the whole of getting OG here, like I said in the top of the podcast, everybody just plays their position now. Like when RJ was here, he gets he's like him and IQ. They tended to sag in the paint sometimes. Taking breaks off a little bit, and also too like say if you're trying to get RJ a shot, now you have to clear out. You have to try to get him a screen. It changes everything. Like it's too much stuff that we had to do just to get guys involved in the offense. So now with OG here, you don't have to do that with him. So now everybody could just concentrate into their roles. And I just think it's not a coincidence. Like as soon as he came in here, like we just been, cooking on all cylinders. And like I said, without having a guy like to clear out like Steph said, we don't have to clear out OG. But for some reason, and he's not scoring a lot. For some reason, we're a better team here. So I think that's important. One thing I've always been saying, for like the last couple of years, is that we need to double down on what we do well. When we had Alfred Payton and those guys over there, people were pissed off about those guys. And we needed to get better players. Yes, of course, but the identity of the Knicks was always to play bully ball, to play defense, rebound, be tougher than the other team. That type of thing. And we played around a couple years. Especially getting Fournier and also getting the point guard and stuff.
Kemba.
Yeah, Kemba. We got the wrong guys. We didn't stick with the identity of the team. Now look, we got DiVincenzo. He's extremely tough. On and playing his position perfectly now. OG's now playing his position, and now not for nothing. Mitchell Robinson is out of here. I was never a fan of him. Hartenstein is in here. He could do the same things that Mitchell Robinson does. But the key with that is that if there's too much space in between him and a defender, iHeart presses the defense. He pushes them forward to create, driving lanes and this, that, and the other. So 5 guys all, coming on, starting the game now. Now we're not playing 2 against 5 now. We're playing like 5-on-5 now when we start the games. And then it looks better when the bench comes in because the bench guy, everybody plays. I don't think we have one bad defensive link. I think you could say Brunson.
No, and
Not even
that's
Brunson.
when I forgot what I was gonna say. Even Brunson has stepped up. I mean, I was gonna pose it as a question, but I feel like even Brunson's defense since this trade has taken a step forward. I feel like he's taking like 2 to 3 charges a game now, or at least attempting to. Where you know what I mean, it might have been 1 a game. You know what I mean prior to, and that, you know what I mean. So he's utilizing his skill set defensively to kind of you know what I mean, like supplement where he's lacking.
Yeah, and he's not getting cooked really anyway. He's not getting blown by where like it's like totally annihilating the defense. And like you don't miss that narrative where Mitchell Robinson is like he's the one that's defending all the positions. That's out of the question, out of the conversation now because look at Hartenstein. Hartenstein never has to jump out of his position to go guard somebody else. The team is rocking at all cylinders at all times, no matter who's in the game. So I think it's dope, man. I love the trade.
Can I also add, and to Queen, to you mentioned something about it being team defense, which I do agree with. But I also think that the OG trade really changed things because you did mention stuff about Isaiah Hartenstein, and what was the Knicks doing before they made the OG trade and things of that nature with Isaiah Hartenstein at the center position. But I think the reason why Brunson is much better defensively, and from the naked eye, much better defensively, and why the center position is much better defensively. It's because you have OG there. Matter of fact, in these last 4 games, how have we seen the Knicks even run drop coverage? They haven't even been playing drop coverage. And I think because you add a player like OG at that position, I think that changes everything and it makes everybody else look better. So although I do agree it is a team thing, and I think that the team was leading up to that, and they were much better defensively. And as you put it, when they put, well, y'all know if you said this directly about Hartenstein when he was inserted in the starting lineup. Even though I do think it is a team scheme, I just think at that position, when you add a player like that can defend 2s, 3s, and 4s regularly, it just makes us so much better. It changes the scheme, and I think it helps everybody else on the floor as well. I think if we would have had Mitch here from a defensive standpoint, I'm not going to argue about the offense. From a defensive standpoint, I think this team could be even better defensively, right? I mean, no knock to what they're doing now. I like what they're doing now, but defensively, I mean, I that's just the way I see it. I think that OG move from a defensive standpoint was a game changer. And like you said, it took us over the top. So I think we're all saying the same things, but I really just want to emphasize that because I think at that 3 position, the way the league is right now, the Knicks and the scheme that they're playing, they needed to have a difference maker at that position on the defensive side of the ball. So great point. I just wanted to put that out there as well, just to add on to what you're saying.
No doubt. So Josh, you have told me to watch Knicks Film School's Cap or No Cap. Queen, you also have told me that you watched the Cap or No Cap and you know what I mean, like you thoroughly enjoy that. Ebro, I know you on record saying you don't watch nothing.
I don't watch to nobody, man. I'm tired of hearing people say the same things over and over again. So I don't listen to everybody.
I didn't listen to the latest.
You didn't watch the latest one? I'm not trying to spoil it. I'm just sum it up and ask a question. They discussed Murray and they discussed Brogdon and they discussed what path they think the Knicks would go and why. Again, I don't want to spoil it, so anybody who didn't see it, go check it out. It's a great great watch for sure. But I do have a question that had I been watching it live, I actually would have sent a super chat in hopes of it getting answered. And
they don't do those live anyway. Those are recorded that they put out.
They are. All right. Okay.
Just the cap and no caps.
Okay. So I wouldn't have got my question answered.
Right.
But they made great points and it's very compelling. My question to you guys is, out of those two, without watching that, or if you did watch it after watching it, who would you think would be the better option for the Knicks? And now let me preface this by Murray, you would have to include Grimes, and you would have to include a more favorable pick. And Brogdon, you may not have to include Grimes, and I'll just say they said the Bucks pick.
What are we trying to do? Are we just trying to like upgrade the bench a little bit? Are we trying to
I guess the object of the trade would be bringing a guy in order to make the next move. So he would probably be flipped essentially, or
he would be put in a trade for the next guy
come next year.
Okay,
right. With the main purpose of basically extending Fournier's money. Basically, you want to hold on to Fournier's money so you can make a move because he's going to be expiring if the team doesn't pick up that option. Before I watched that, I didn't really think. I seen people post about Brogdon. I really didn't consider it as much because there was the big health issue. But they do a great job over there with that show. I don't want to spoil whatever people should watch it. I think. But from a cap perspective, I think it makes a lot of sense. I still would prefer Murray because I think he's a little bit more of a dog. I like that. I like just having dogs. I think Murray's more of a dog. But I do think that this team I think the starting lineup just needs to remain the same for what it is right now. And we need to basically replace quickly, right? So having that guy come off the bench, you know what I mean, to play with that second unit, and then at times come on and play with Randall and Brunson on the floor at the same time, I think is the most important thing. And I really, really value that part more than I do anything else. I'm fine with keeping the starting lineup the way it is now. And if you bring Murray in here, most likely you're going to have to change the starting. You're going to have to change the starting lineup. And I just don't think Murray fits with the starting lineup as much as DiVincenzo does at this very point in time. Like I told you on the last show, Tony, I'm off the whole DeRozan and getting guys to play in the starting lineup as far as guards. I'm all for that. This team just needs another bench piece to come in and be a spark plug. If Murray wants to come off the bench, that'd be great. I would love that. That'd be great for me. But then you have to worry about minutes. You have to worry about that kind of thing. So, either way, I think the Knicks would be fine because at the end of the day, I think they're looking to flip whoever they trade Evan Fournier for at the end of the day. But as far as this season, I really, really like the Brogdon move now. And I think they did a great job. Jeremy Cohen, by the way, that's his name.
Yep.
Does a great job of breaking that down. So I really just want to give him a shout out to him because he does a really good job with that.
Absolutely.
Let me say this, Knicks Film School, fine, okay, but we the MBK, we give good takes too, man. So let them do what they do. We don't want to spoil their podcast, man. Let's get off of that right away because we got Steph has a good show. Tony got a good show. I got a good show too. So let's get off of that. MBK puts out good content. We're smart too. Listen, we're smart too. So I don't want to spend time, bigging up another podcast as if they're coming up with stuff that we haven't said ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So I just got to say that.
Appreciate you.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, man. To me, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, because they do good content, but let's not put our content lower than because they, I don't want to spoil it for you guys.
I don't think that, Hero. I think that's unfair. I don't think anybody was doing that. I mean, I'm just pointing out. I mean, I thought it was a good breakdown of what was going on. I'm not saying
with that, but the spoilers and stuff like that. But it's not a Marvel movie. You know what I'm saying? We're not, we're not waiting to see if Thanos is gonna snap the fingers and stuff like that. Let's get off of that.
My man.
So basically,
thumbs up on the cat for Hero. Thumbs up.
Josh let the cat out the bag.
Listen, thumbs up for ourselves. We gotta big up ourselves. You know what I'm saying? This is the MBK. Let's get it popping here.
We might have
to ahead, Ebru, take it away with your take. I'll go last.
You got it. Yeah, you got it, man.
Go ahead, Ebru.
I'm saying, because last night on State's first podcast on YouTube, you know what I'm saying? We didn't need to watch Macri and them guys on their channel to get our takes on live on State Show, his first show ever. We talked about this. We talked about Murray and stuff like that. Consensus of everybody wants Murray, just simply because he could drop 20 and give you like that. But the argument on the other side of that is, if he comes in here, it'll be the same thing like RJ. We're gonna have to change what we do from time to time just to get Murray going. So I mean, I can see the Brogdon thing. I kind of like the Brogdon thing also because our starting lineup is clicking so well that you can see what we need next, and what we really do need is somebody to come off the bench to help that bench unit because one of you guys mentioned too that when Randall's there with that bench unit, it looks kind of clunky or whatever. But if you add Brogdon to that mix, and you already said that Grimes would have to go, so whatever, I look at it as Brogdon is replacing Grimes. And now if you replace Grimes with Brogdon, and then you still throw Deuce in there sometimes or whatever, now you have a functional bench that I don't know how you guard us, to tell you the truth. Once those guys come in there, we should still be able to function. And then once Tom Thibodeau starts making those substitutions to blend the starting lineup into that group, I just don't know how you mess with us because defensively, Brogdon plays good defense. So I mean, defensively, we're still going to be on point, and then now we'll be more functional off the bench with Brogdon on the team. So, I just think it's good stuff all around here. If we get Murray or Brogdon, but I'm kind of maybe 60% on Brogdon now.
On Brogdon, Queen, I know you always been a big fan of Brogdon. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel differently. I do think that this starting lineup has a nice chemistry going, but that chemistry is not getting us to a championship. It's just not. And I don't think Murray is getting us to a championship either, but I think a team with DeJounte Murray on it is a better team. And when it's time to flip for that superstar, you're going to have an easier chance flipping to DeJounte Murray than you are Brogdon. But I get it, offensively, the offense would have to change a little bit because Murray is not just somebody like a Devo that's just going to stand out there and be happy with, 5 shots one game and 9 shots. So I get that part. But this team, as well as they're playing, I think the DeJounte Murray on the team is going to get further than this team right here.
See.
I believe.
I would,
The other
I would,
part I want to make about the bench is I think we got to let go of trying to replace quickly. Let's keep in mind, you look at these other teams, how many of these other teams have a quickly in their second unit? The Knicks were able to have a quickly in their second unit because we weren't a top heavy team. We were more of a deep team. So we were able to have, a player like that. You look at these other teams, their second unit just comes in, holds down the fort a little bit until their starters can get back in. Okay, fine. It might be a few teams in the league that have like an energizer, 6-man starter type guy, but that's not the norm. Most of these teams have really strong starting units, capable bench players, So I'm okay getting a Murray and our bench and having a stronger starting unit, having somebody we could flip in a trade for a superstar, and having a bench with a Ish Smith or Cameron Payne and a DiVincenzo and whoever else, and that team basically, put some thought into it. It might not be Ish Smith, but put some thought into it where it's strong enough to just hold it down till we
like what we got now, like what we have now.
I was gonna
don't
say,
like our point. I don't like McBride at the point for us because this is what I think. I think things get so somebody's solid, Josh, but that's dependable. Because I feel like when the playoffs come, it just not if you don't have players who are been in the league for a little bit, have some playoffs. The playoffs can knock out the production of half of your roster. And now you only got 2-3 guys that's really performing. You know what I mean? So
I was gonna say we
would need an upgrade from McBride, in my opinion.
You made Clyde smile somewhere when you said Ish Smith.
I mean, not him particularly, but you know what I mean? Like somebody solid.
But Clyde smiled. he definitely smiled when you said that.
You need a paternity test, man. He talks about him all the time.
Can I just say?
I get how Murray changes things for us offensively. Hold
on one second, Josh.
You got it.
Because I mean that was the exact question that I would have asked had it been live and I was able to. And what Queen just said is because it was a compelling argument, and I actually want Eru and Josh to respond to this because I think me and Queen are on the same page here. I like what they're saying of not messing up the offense in the starting unit, and like you can't front. It's clicking right now. You know what I mean? You don't want to tinker with it at all. I mean, at this particular moment, I get that part. I get the part of him filling in on the bench, not even necessarily in a quickly role per se, but a true point guard, a defensive guy, more seasoned than Deuce. He is obviously a shooter. You know what I mean? Like, so all the things, it is an ideal, perfect fit for Brogdon in that second unit. But like Queen said, if the idea is we're using this to make the next move, how attractive is Brogdon when you're trying to make a move for that superstar, as opposed to a young Murray who you could sell, or you may not even have to sell. The trajectory from him is he's still a budding young star. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we talk about 3-4 year difference, right? I believe 27, 31.
Yes. Yeah.
But
yeah. So yeah.
But there's still a ceiling on who Murray could become, right? You know what I mean? Like, I think with Brogdon, you know who he is, you know what you're getting, and injury history is included in that. So that was my only question about it. Do you think Brogdon has the value to be used in the next move, or is it Murray? You know what I mean? Like,
I think Brogdon has more value.
Okay.
I think Brogdon has more. I think Brogdon has more value, and I'm gonna tell you why. So the first point, Queen, I just look at it much differently than you do in regards to that. I see where you're coming from in regards to the other teams having elite starting lineups or way better starting lineups than the Knicks. But I think fit matters as well. I think fit matters as well. Like those teams that you're talking about, like let's say Philly, for example, I think they have a starting lineup that fits together. You got a guy at the wing and Tobias Harris, right? Who complements Joel Embiid well and Tyrese Maxey well. You got in Boston, you got Porzingis, you got Brown and Tatum that complement each other well, right? Minnesota, they have a team that, a starting lineup that complements each other well. I just think the Knicks starting lineup right now complements each other so well, right? And I think this team can definitely compete. This starting lineup can definitely compete, particularly in the Eastern Conference the way it is right now. Now, I've always been under the, and I know you disagree, but I've always been under the impression, the reason why I think the Quickly role needs to be replaced is because you got Julius Randle. Like your main guy, one of your main guys between Brunson and Randle, but Randle's one of your main people, right? If the Knicks had, let's say, instead of Randle, they had Brandon Ingram, then I would go along. Okay, now we just need to get a center. We can get a Joel Embiid. You can have Brunson, Ingram, and Embiid there and play that starting lineup. That would be a much better starting lineup than what we have now, and then you wouldn't need as much bench help. But because Randall's playing the power forward position and the space that he occupies on the floor, I just think that there's no need to have another perimeter guy starting off the game with that particular lineup because I don't think the pieces necessarily fit. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not going to find too many Julius Randles around the league. So my next point with that, the reason why I feel like the Quickly role needs to be replaced is because considering that you can bring Quickly off, or I keep saying Quickly, or whoever the next guy is off the bench. And to me, I think you don't have to worry about that fit as much because at times during the game, you can put that player in just to be a spark plug instead of starting off the game. And that starting unit is going to play majority of the minutes together throughout the game. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I just think the Knicks in the position that they are now, they're much more inclined to have a player come off the bench to give that productivity instead of in the starting lineup because of the fit. You see what I'm saying?
And I think me and
we
Queen
disagree, and that's fine. But you still didn't answer the question about why you think Brogdon would have more.
Oh yes. Sorry,
for a superstar we talking about.
Yes, and simple contract because the contract. Brogdon's contract expires at the end of next season, which makes it more attractive than a player like Murray who's under contract for longer. Right, so I think a team
will going both ways, Josh.
Yeah. I think
definitely see it going both ways.
I think that's that's his value as an expiring contract. But why is he more valuable than a guy under contract long term, which you have argued yourself? The value of a guy who's under contract,
and he's under a cheap.
No, not more than expiring contract. Not more than expiring. Why do you think the Knicks couldn't? The Knicks are in a better position to move Fournier now than they did last season. That's because his contract is expiring. I've always been on the side of expiring
Fournier
contracts.
Is not producing like Murray is.
Right.
So you got to use. Both those things affect the player's value.
This is what I'm trying to say.
The value of the contract, the length, and all that.
This is what I'm trying to say. Regardless of any of that, what I'm saying is, regardless, if you have a player that's making enough money, like somewhere around the $18 to $25 million range, and that player is expiring, that contract is much more attractive than a player that you have under contract, making that same annual salary for a longer period of time. The expiring contract is much more valuable within itself.
It depends on the player. It depends on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to do.
What the other organization is trying.
Are you trying to rebuild from scratch?
I haven't seen any. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Queen. Go ahead.
I haven't seen any recent trades for superstars, and somebody correct me if you remember it, who would prefer. They're giving up their superstar, and all they want back is expiring contracts. Like they're gonna want a young player under a reasonable contract, which Murray is. If instead of just saying we gave up our superstar for nothing, we came back with an expiring contract where we can use the money where people aren't even going to free agency anymore. I don't understand.
No. When I say expiring contract, I'm talking about a player that's expiring, that's you can still move, right? So not expiring within that year, because Brogdon is under contract for this season and next season as well.
We understand. We understand that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It can still be attractive even after you make the trade, and that's why the Knicks are looking at Brogdon, right? Or I think they're considering Brogdon because even if it doesn't work out this year, they still can flip him in the offseason in June. They can flip that.
All right,
I agree. If I'm trading my superstar, you're gonna have to. I got to come back with something more than Brogdon.
Mm-hmm.
I know what you're saying.
And that's my logic. That's my logic.
When you look at these trades that have happened for superstars the past, I don't know, we probably have to go back 5-6 years. They've gotten
the only argument
good piece
against
back.
that.
You didn't send an expiring
The only
player
argument
back with 1 year.
Cleveland and Utah.
What do you mean?
Cleveland and Utah.
Marketing?
Mitchell. Right, and they're about to move Marketing now. Marketing's contract expires next season. That's what I'm saying.
That's a young player that has value. That's under contract. His
contract is expiring, is what I'm trying to tell you. That's why they're going to flip him.
He was under contract. When you're missing the point.
No, I get what he's saying. We just disagree. I get what he's saying.
Okay.
I get what he's saying.
Because Marketing is now up for another contract now. He's up for another contract. And they're going to move him, and he's more attractive because he feels like he can get money somewhere else. So that's why, I mean, that's an example. I gave you an example of a team that traded away a superstar, right? And they got back some expiring contracts, not within that season, maybe the following season.
But that's the point. That's what we're saying. It was he had time before he was expiring. So does Brogdon. They had time to evaluate. They had time to evaluate him and evaluate him as a long-term prospect. Or
you think they don't think that he can be a long-term prospect on Utah?
Listen.
I'm talking about Brogdon not being a long-term part of anybody's future after this. You know what I mean? Forward.
When they traded for him, he had 3 years left. So they didn't trade for him, and he only had 1 year left. He had the 2022-23. He had the 2023-24. He has the 2024-25. He's a free agent the summer of 2025. So the point I'm trying to make is I don't see a team giving up their superstar to get back a player with 1 year left. I think you're going to need to give them something. And you look at these superstar trades. They're getting something back. Sometimes you got to give up your best player.
The only argument would be Philly with James Harden. Now, some will argue whether or not he's still a superstar or not. They want all expiring contracts. Well, they wanted the young guy, but they couldn't get him. You know what I mean? They had to take all expiring contracts. But even that situation, that has to do with the front office and the organization. They value those expiring contracts because of where they are moving forward. You know what I mean? Now they got to use that space to bring somebody in and not do a full rebuild. You know what I mean? Like, so
let me ask you a question. Why would any team, what is the most likely reason that any team would want to get off of their superstar player? Let me just ask that question. I'm gonna start there.
I mean, that's very specific. Like that's what they're saying. That there could be there's so many different scenarios that you can run through. That
right, but ultimately it comes down to that team feeling like they can't win with that superstar player, and they want to shed salary.
Not all the time, Josh.
Not all the time, yeah.
And they may not want to start. They may not want to start from scratch. Is my point. So to me, if I'm not trying to start from scratch, and I have a choice of rebooting or restarting with Brogdon or Murray, my choice is going to be Murray because
let me ask that question.
Brogdon doesn't have a huge part of, I don't think, anyone's future, especially considering the age, considering the injury history, considering you know what I mean, where he is at this point of his career.
Okay, so let me ask
who you flipping Brogdon for that you can't flip Murray for. Go ahead.
All right, okay, I understand what you're saying. Let me throw this question back at y'all since you asked this to me. Name a team that traded a superstar player, right, and they got back something that they actually were going to build with, as far as a player that's been in the league for a minute.
I'm not sure.
This. Can we say
I would have to look at who was the last superstars to get traded. But I will tell you this: when I've seen those trades, it was never just draft picks, and it was always the third best player or on the team, or sometimes even the second best player on the team. Like, I don't remember superstar trades for just bottom rotation guys. But to your point,
I don't think
Josh,
Malcolm Brogdon is. I don't think Malcolm Brogdon is a bottom rotation guy. Though. I don't think that's what he is.
He ain't no top rotation.
He's not even a starter though. Granted, he's the best guy off
He
the
could be a
bench.
starter. He could easily be a starter.
I mean,
a lot of teams.
he could.
He's 39 years old. I'm exaggerating.
Brogdon? Yeah, you are.
No, he's not. But to Josh's point, I'll say this.
Real quick, Quinn. Let me just get to the super chat. So I'm not holding it. Salute, appreciate you, Silk Sutton. If we press and trap teams in the playoffs, with teams will be in trouble.
We in trouble. If we see a press and trap team in the playoffs with this team, we in trouble.
Wow. Part of my reading, number one. number two.
And you know what? Go ahead.
The way I read it, I think both these could be true because I think we have the personnel to press and trap now. But go ahead.
That's true too.
What was you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, to Josh's point, it depends on the team.
Yeah, I don't want to get into research paper because I mean every question he's asking, we gotta go. I don't got like 10 things of trying to catch up with whatever Josh wants us to Google. You know,
I'm trying to take your mind off.
Like, who was the last?
I had an answer. Anthony Davis was the last, or the first guy that came to my mind. Superstar traded. They got Ingram back. They still got Ingram. They rocking with Ingram. They building with Ingram. So that there's a guy. There's a
superstar. You gotta get some substance in the trade.
So they chose to sign Ingram to a max contract. At the point when they signed Ingram to his max contract, he had 1 year left. Like, they still had to, you know what I mean, make that decision within the final couple years or year of his contract is what I'm saying. But they also, Randall went away in that trade, and Randall was gone the next year, remember? To us.
Josh,
so,
everything you're saying is correct.
Randall was signed as a free agent.
The caliber
so let him
player.
No, Queen, I hear what you're saying, Queen. I got you. I hear what you're saying.
The caliber of player matters. It's not just that, we just want somebody that has 1 year left. Who is that player that has 1 year left? Is it Murray or is it Brogdon? Am I going to take Brogdon with 1 year left, or Murray, who's he signed for 4 years, 116 million or something like that? I mean,
4. That's right.
That is
that is a great contract. I think
a great contract.
Like we all said, I think we all can be right. I think it really just depends on the team. I think Murray is on a phenomenal contract. I just go under the premise that contracts that are expiring sooner are much more valuable than contracts, no matter how long you have that player. Particularly because of the salary cap implications. Like, you want to be able to flip that play. You want to be able to flip that player. Teams are more attractive.
Some teams may want to flip.
I got a painting here for my kids that's worth more than Mona Lisa to me. You know what I'm saying? I would rather pay millions of dollars for this paper for my kids. So it depends on what you consider valuable on any particular.
And at the same time, I mean, Queen, if you're gonna watch the podcast, you know that we were talking about earlier, but their numbers are not that different. Actually, Brogdon's numbers are better than Murray's.
We don't got to watch the podcast. We don't have to watch the podcast. We can Google that information. We don't have to watch that podcast to get information.
You're right. I mean,
I have the stuff Googled on my screen right now. We don't have to watch that other podcast. Why we keep talking about that? Let me say this. 2024. Listen, let me take over. 2024, right? We're gonna trade for a superstar. Who is that superstar that we would either trade Brogdon or
the advanced numbers, Queen. I'm talking about the advanced numbers, by the way.
Yeah.
So I mean, advanced numbers, whatever. 2024 superstar player next year. Who are we going to trade if we get Murray here? Who is that superstar player that's available that we would trade for?
That's a good question.
No, I'm not star chasing.
That's a good question.
Personally, for me, I'm not star chasing.
That's a good question too, because if the argument is, we make the Brogdon move and we're a better team, which I believe we would be. He would solidify our bench. And there is no next move, like, guaranteed. Like, so we might have to rock out next year again with the roster. Then I'm fine with that. Like, that's a good move. And I do think there are question marks. Excuse me, real quick. There's question marks with Murray as far as not necessarily his fit, because I think he could fit, but the acclimation. You know what I mean? how
And
long
he
does it
plays
take?
off the ball with Trey. Trey is on that ball all the time. I'm surprised. I went to sleep. I woke up. Murray had 30 points. I said, how? I watched the first quarter. Trey was on the ball all the time.
So y'all think it'd be a good fit, Murray playing next to Brunson with this lineup? Y'all think it'd be a good fit, better than what we have now in the starting lineup?
I felt not
Who has
only
the
not
highest
listen,
ceiling, Josh? We keep talking about this team is playing well right now, granted. But I will take some busted up chemistry for a little while for a team that has a higher ceiling. I don't see this team as well as we're playing. This is not a championship contending team. Is a team with Murray a championship contending team? Probably not. But I think that team is a little closer because you have to have talent on your team. And I believe Murray can fit over time. That's what I'm
and, and
saying. I get what
I
y'all
don't necessarily, I don't agree. I
Josh,
disagree. No, I hear you.
listen,
I hear your point.
I know none of you will agree, but I was on record when we signed Brunson that I thought Murray would have been a better fit next to him than Donovan Mitchell. And I know that's the consensus of getting Murray here to flip him for Mitchell. So, you know what I mean? Like, yes, I do think he fits with Brunson. And I think there is still an argument that he might fit better than Murray would. You know what I mean? Now, he's not the offensive talent that Murray is at all. And I'm not saying that's the choice I would make. But yes, he
because
fits next to Brunson.
the other thing is in the playoffs, when they try to take Brunson out the game, you really trust DiVincenzo to bring the ball up and initiate our
No,
what he's doing right now. Listen, I was the one banging the table for DiVincenzo to get in the starting lineup and Hartenstein from the very beginning. These were the two guys I wanted to see in the starting lineup. They're in there. I'm enjoying it. In the playoffs, though, DiVincenzo can. If they try to do whatever they're gonna do, I've seen DiVincenzo try to bring the ball up against pressure. It wasn't pretty.
It's better than
yeah,
Grimes,
but see, I just think we look at. I mean, that part I agree with you, right? But I don't necessarily think it has to be DiVincenzo in there. That's why I want another bench guy, and that's why I'm saying we got to replace the Quickly role. Because remind you, last season, when at the end of games, clutch games, they had Quickly on the floor. Even beginning of this season, they had Quickly on the floor with Brunson and Randall, and that was a difference maker out there because you can give Quickly the ball and have Brunson play off of him. I just don't know if for me,
which playoffs we talking about? Because Quickly was missing in action last year in the playoffs.
He was trash in the playoffs.
Well, that's
I get what you're saying in terms of ideally what we would want.
Well, I mean, I know me and you
was starting or not. Would Murray do that though? Would Murray do that? What you're saying?
I don't like the fit. I don't like the fit with Murray with Brunson.
I think it.
But
the
Queen's
gives Brunson an opportunity to play off the ball and be a catch and shoot player at times where you like to look at advanced numbers. Brunson catch and shoot numbers is through the roof this year. You know what I mean? So if it gives him an opportunity to get off ball at times, if it gives him an opportunity to be a catch and shoot player at times, I don't see how it doesn't fit. And we're talking about another defender that and more length. That like
I think the difference is whether I want that player to come off the bench or not rather than start. That's what I'm trying to say. That's the difference. I think that we're not on the same page about. Like,
I don't disagree with you with that, but I just don't. And that's part of the argument why I see why Brogdon could be a better option if we're not talking about flipping him for the next guy, the superstar.
And that's
I don't think
always stagger. It doesn't even matter with the starting. You can always stagger Murray anyway. So I'm not really worried about that.
Well, okay, I'm looking at it from the perspective of clutch. They're already bad blood between the two. Now bringing him in. If we bringing him in, I think Brogdon is more receptive to maybe getting the 25 minutes that Quickly was getting,
right?
As opposed to Murray having to adapt to figuring out less minutes. Again, I don't know what his minutes are in Atlanta, and I don't know if we can match it. But we already came off of trouble finding, like we've been arguing. Quickly he needs more than 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Grimes minutes was on decline
And there
because
was more minutes to be had. That was on the coaching staff, though. There
mean,
was more
right.
minutes.
And Queen, to your point, you said Tibbs can stagger. Tibbs historically has not done that. Mind you, Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson played 90% of the minutes together on the floor, right? And I'm sure that's probably changed a little bit now because he has no choice. But that's what I'm saying. I just think
other guys. He don't stagger those, but he will stagger the other guys.
Well, and that's what
that would be my other
Right.
part. Is
Right.
not necessarily Brunson. I mean Brunson too, because I think he likes his minutes. You know what I mean? Like he be joking around, but I think there's some truth in his jokes when his minutes was low, even in the preseason, joking around. Like I was supposed to play 7 minutes, I played six minutes or whatever. You know what I mean? So I think he's aware, but I think Murray would be more of an adjustment for Tibbs to kind of figure out where to slot these guys in. Where with Brogdon it wouldn't be. But when we just specifically talking about flipping him next year, I totally disagree.
Pound for pound, Murray's better than Brogdon. That's not what I was arguing at all. You guys got me on that. I mean, that's not where I was going with that. I'm just considering all the rest of the stuff.
But I'm just saying the same value
in the playoffs, though. I've seen playoffs eat up rosters, and you go in there with your full complement, and by the time it's over, only 3 guys are playing well for you. You know what I'm saying? You could take DiVincenzo out of a game. You could take Randall out of a game, not necessarily his talent, but because of where he operates on the floor. And so you could double team. Who do we I just feel like we need bona fide players so that you can't. Right now, the way this team is constructed, there's too much pressure on Brunson and Randall. And in the playoffs,
I
you
agree.
can easily scheme against those 2 guys easily.
And that's why and that's why we're having a conversation about getting another player in here at the end of the day. It's just
no doubt about
it. How and why. So we agree.
Correct.
We agree on that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Avery, what was your thoughts? Because I don't even think we really got your take.
I've been trying, man, but you guys are going around in circles and circles and circles. I'm looking at you guys like, what are you guys talking about right now? You know? So I mean, like, you know, just to bring it back, the initial question when we was talking about whether to get Murray or Brogdon and how we will flip them for a superstar, and then we go all around the world and we start now we're doing research projects and all kind of stuff now. So I'm like, you know, what are you doing? And then you won't let it go. And then after you finish saying it, then Josh comes back, but I just don't get it. Oh God, back in the circle again. So my thing is, look, like RJ is the one that's been staggered. You know, traditionally he loved to play RJ with the bench. So I mean, if Murray comes in there, Murray could come in there. He could be the one staggered with the bench, and I think that would work the same way that Brogdon will work. If Brogdon came in there, he would be like leading the bench squad or whatever. But like as far as the initial question that was a while ago, they were talking about it. That superstar, maybe it could be like if we get Murray, if you're gonna flip and getting him to flip for that superstar, it might be Devin Booker because he's CAA. And over there in Phoenix, I don't know what they're doing over there. They got 2 shooting guards. One guy is playing point guard. So I mean, if they get DeJounte and pay him with Beal, that's a little bit better than having Booker and whatever. And Booker might want out himself. So that might be the end game if we're talking about bringing a superstar here. If Devin Booker is even a superstar, you know. So I think that might be the plan.
That's a dream come true for me. My goodness.
This is why you was flipping out because you like I got ideas too.
No, I mean, well, you asked the question, but we never even got to talk about that question because we're talking about some other stuff.
So I take it you agree Murray would be a bigger asset to flip than Brogdon.
Yeah, asset because Phoenix, I don't think will be looking to cut salary. And they might though, you know, they might, you know, but I'm saying either player, if we lose out on Murray because it just doesn't work, they ask for too much or whatever the case may be. If we do have the option to get Brogdon, I'm good with either player.
Yes,
because I can see how we could I can see how we could be successful with either guy. You know,
agree.
Yes, agree.
I think it's essential. We got to get one of them. I think.
Hey, that was a good 15 minutes without you, Eru. But I guess if I would have went right to you, you would have cut to the chase. You know what I mean? No filler. We about to get out of here. Queen's Court is 8:30, right?
Yeah, I don't even know if Sim set it up. He said he was gonna set it up.
Let me see if it's set. I mean, 8:30 or shortly after. Either way.
Oh yeah, he set it up. Yep, 8:30.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah.
Let me get to the super chat. Nikki B from Harlem. He says, yes, Murray is better than Dante. What are we talking about? Put Dante on the bench. Can't ask guys to play above their talent if you want their best. I mean, and that would be the option, and I think DiVincenzo potentially could fill the quickly role if he is moved to the bench. But
That's true too.
to your point, Eru, I'm not mad if we went after Brogdon or either way. It was basically specifically about, like you saying, the value of moving this guy next year, and I just felt like Murray holds more value throughout the league, um, especially in pursuit of a superstar than Brogdon does currently. Josh, you wanted to say something? I'll let you this be your closeout. We're gonna get out of here.
Yeah. No, I know we got to get ready for Queen's Court. You know, definitely everybody tune in to Queen's Court. Please tune in to Queen's Court. Show us some love. This whole thing about Kyle Kuzma playing it too. I mean, you and Sim, y'all. I mean, you guys. That is awful.
Well,
I'm sorry.
First of all, I said move OG to the 2, but
That's even worse.
either way, that was a subject of discussion because we were playing the Wizards. So I was just bringing out, you know what I mean, some storylines that favored the team we were about to play. So you know what I mean. He wasn't high on my list. He does have a nice structured contract. He is CAA. We were just making the talking points as to why it could work and if it could work. To say it's horrible.
I mean, okay. I guess
you
it
disagreed
goes
with
back
it
to
then.
the fit.
You know what I mean? You disagreed with it then.
I care about the fit as well as much as anything else, not just the player. I care about the fit on the team. So I mean, you don't want to go into it, so we don't have to. But
Fit is
I'm just saying
important, Josh, but sometimes fit on a low level and somebody that may not, that on paper you think won't fit, but can possibly take your team to another level. Oh man, I think that's a close call because sometimes we say, "Oh, on paper, this ain't gonna work." LeBron and Wade, that ain't gonna work. Sometimes they figure it out. So I don't like to just dismiss things out of hand because I agree. I'm not gonna sit here and say DeJounte Murray is a smooth fit. I totally get it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would take that chance, though.
Yeah, I mean,
I would take that chance.
I mean, I hear you. You've always been a fan of DeJounte Murray.
You're great argument.
You've always been a fan of him.
A
and
great
OG
argument,
as well. So I know
that
would be
a great argument, which I brought up last week, and I guess this would fit in this narrative is or the question would be how much of a Tibbs guy is, because we're talking about this talent over the fit and make it work, blah 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 blah. One thing that we have figured out for sure is if you give Tibbs a Tibbs guy, you know what I mean, like, and he don't gotta work around the talent, you know what I mean, or figure out but he just fits in, which Brogdon does. It may just be a seamless thing. But again,
how good is Brogdon's defense though? I don't really see him as a
I mean, again, I don't watch enough, but I know traditionally, that was one of his strong points. Yeah, okay. He's 6'5", right? Point guard. You know what I mean? Like so those things were like advantages, I guess, in a sense. And yeah, like that was the reason. He's the reason Boston had to go get Drew, right? Well, Marcus Smart.
I think sorry, my bad, Tony. This is the last thing I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna say anything else. Thank y'all for all tuning in. I appreciate it. Sorry, Eru, I pissed you off. On my bad.
Stop talking about other podcasts and make your point. That's all I'm saying. You know, big up yourself.
I feel like I was making my point, but look, I think more often than not, and I think this is why the superstar era or the big three and that whole super team era is basically dead in the NBA. You got the salary cap that you got to consider. That's one, but also just because you combine a whole bunch of stars together or a whole bunch of all these talented guys together doesn't mean that the fit necessarily is going to work. And I think we all can agree on that. Right. And I do think there is a little bit of a talent disparity with the Knicks, but I don't think it's as big as it was before because I think Brunson and Randall are playing at all NBA levels. Now they may not be Tatum. They may not. I got you, Queen. They may not be Tatum, and they may not be, some of these other guys, these top 10 players in the NBA. But when you think about it, what makes a player a top 10 player in the NBA, right? All NBA, right? The fact that, in the playoffs they show up or whatever. But I think now that this Knicks team has this playoff thing under their belt and they've been there 2 out of the last 3 years or whatever, I think they're at the point where they're taking the next step. Brunson and Randall specifically, and you got them on less than max contracts. So I think that, I just really, really think that this Knicks team can really do some things this year. If they get Murray or if they get Brogdon. I mean, I personally prefer Brogdon. That we already went through that, but I think this team really can compete because of those two guys who we're building the franchise around. So. Yeah, well,
I don't disagree with you, but I still think the jury is still out on Randall in the playoffs. And I'm not saying he can't do it, but because of that ankle injury, we weren't able to see it. So it still it's still a question mark. But if you're talking about guaranteeing me that this regular season Randall is playoff Randall, I 100% agree. Totally.
And I think adding another ball handler does that.
Don't get Josh started on. We got to see it in the playoffs. I already got him.
No. We agree on that. I just think we need another ball handler to help that out.
I'm just saying because
I know, but I got Josh to agree not to bring that up, and then let's wait and see. You know what I mean?
Right. So, all right. I got to check off. It was a pleasure being with you guys.
I want
to appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you.
And just represent the whole. I say I want to throw that slide right there up real quick to represent the MBK fan. Appreciate. Here you go. If you got a whole spiel, so but yeah, this the MBK fam list of shows. Support us, or it's MBK all day. We mentioned the other pod. But,
say it like this. Everybody that watches Knicks Film School, please check out this lineup. Everybody that watches Knicks Film School, check out Sim, check out Phil Knicks, check out Knicks and Bruises, check out Dope Soul. Maybe you'll learn something if you watch one of those podcasts.
And Die Hard Knicks.
Yeah, and maybe I'll make another slide with just MBK, not even those who just have a show on MBK, giving E-Rule and G-Mo and Freezy and just the MBK
extended family.
Yeah, I'll do that. Peace. Appreciate you guys.
I appreciate you, Queen. I'll be right there.
Okay.
Chat. Salute. This was a great show for sure. This might be one of my. You know what? This is my favorite show of the year.
It's your first show of the year, right? Oh man.
Nah, I think I did one, but nah. Shout out to the chat, man. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate the support. We had 200 people watching. Hopefully, everybody hit that like, subscribe. I'll see y'all at Queen's Court. Eru, appreciate you jumping in, man. It's been a minute. It's always a pleasure. Josh, your takes are getting better and better. I don't know if it's because it was no face and just your voice. Nah, just joking. Oh, but not on the real though. We've been agreeing a lot more often.
I'm not gonna let you get away with that, Tony. I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna hold on to that one. I'm not gonna let you get away with that.
Look, I mean, conversations is good. You got to have both sides. You got to have, arguments and stuff. So that's good. But my thing is, man, we can't be like, I already said enough already. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Yeah, we out of here. Let me get my outro and salute to y'all. I'll see y'all on the Queen's Court.
Peace.
Peace.
Yeah, I am delayed. Here we go.